Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Leonidas Triple G, this time with a Warframe video. Now, after talking about the Kuva Liches and Railjack last week, also last week, Mainline dropped on PC. It hasn't reached consoles yet. I play on consoles, so my information about this and my feedback on this is kind of limited, but here are the main topics. So, Railjack requirements have been lowered. You know, I don't think the requirements were really the problem with Railjack. As I said in my previous video, I never even mentioned resources, but it's good. It's good that they adopted. So maybe they'll get more players in. Armor scaling also changed. Now, this is something the community was asking about. I don't really see. I didn't really see a problem with it, but of course, hard-hitting players or long-time players or hardcore players might have a problem with it, which is the scaling of armor in the enemies after level 75. I think it reached increased exponentially. So it was really hard to continue missions once they were that high. So now after level 75, they added a linear progression instead of being a curved one. Now, my opinion is that this is okay, but what happens when, in a couple of years or maybe even a couple of months, everybody starts melting everything at level 75? Well, then I have to push that curve to level 100, because in the beginning, this algorithm was done to increase the level of the armors and the level of difficulty after level 30. But then, with the adding of new modes and new game modes, they had to change that. So now it's up to 75, and then it becomes linear. But I have a feeling that, in a couple of years, maybe even less than that, they'll have to change again, because everybody starts melting everything, and so we have the problem again. Now, another thing that they added was shield gating, which is something that should be in the game right from the get-go. I mean, it's just one of those things. I mean, I didn't even realize it after when I started playing, but only after I did, because most games who have shields, after you lose a shield, then you start taking damage to your health. And in Warframe, that didn't happen. You start taking damage to your shield, and right immediately you start taking damage to your health. So now there's like this pause, this what they call gating. So you lose your shield, and only after that you lose your health or your energy. So other thing they changed was self-damage. Self-damage now has disappeared from the game. Instead of that, you got a stagger. Now, I didn't really mind that much self-damage, because it was something that you had to be aware, but I do feel that it cut the game a lot, especially at high levels with a lot of enemies and you want to shoot them all. I think they could have left a little bit of damage, like maybe 5 or 10, not in percentage, but maybe 5, 10 total. Some people still like the self-damage. I think for once that it's a positive change. I take it as a positive, because it was something to just keep skilling you. So yeah, might as well get rid of it. I mean, like I said, they could have changed it so that the percentage to do a percentage of damage, but then would mean rework all the explosive damage and weapons that have projectiles that fling at the projectiles. So it'll be another problem. So they just went and removed it, and I'm okay with it. Now another thing that they did, and they only advertised it, I think this week, said it was last week, was the status change. Now, concerning status, the biggest difference we see now is that you can have procs of multiple status on the same target. Instead of having just one and building only for that particular type of status that you want, you can build for everyone, and they all do proc damage. So yeah, that's a very good thing. It allows you to much more diversity of builds. But like I said, one of the bad things was that Slash now eats through shields. I mean, Slash already eats through everything. It's like the meta for everyone, so it doesn't really shift the meta like they want to. Nothing that they removed. I mean, they were trying to put it back, but then they did put it back, and then they removed it again. Was Ragdoll. Now, I enjoy Ragdoll. Because I play solo most of the time. I don't really have a problem with that. Even if I play with other people, I don't see anybody really complaining about it. But I can feel that in certain areas, in certain gameplays, Ragdoll can be a problem, because you're hitting an enemy and somebody decides to use a shotgun again, and the enemy goes flying away, and then you have to run after it and then kill it. So yeah, I can understand that. Now, to me, what I would like them to do is to still have Ragdoll, but only on kill. You know, if when you shot him with a shotgun or any weapon who has a large impact damage and it killed the target, then the target could fly away. I mean, it's already dead. I mean, whatever he would drop right at your feet where he was killed. But you know, his body would just be flying around because I like that. I really like that. I think it's funny, and I'm thinking that, you know, because they also increased the damage to infected. That's another thing that they did. I think, you know, when those infested get really close to you and they're all on top of you and you can just shoot to the ground and make them. And that with an explosive weapon, the explosive weapon makes every of those infested just fly away. I think that would be amazing. That would be some Matrix thing. Now the last Titan, and the one I'm most not happy about, was the changes to Arcanes. Now Arcanes used to go to Mastery Rank 3, to level 3, R3. Now they're going to rank 5. Now they did this change because people were double stacking. You know, they were using 2 Arcanes of the same at max to have that chance and that and those buffs easier. So they say, oh no, we're gonna change that. So one of the things they did was they increased the Arcanes. I mean, the Arcanes now do have a lot better buffs than they had before, but that's only partially because on the other end they also have the same chances to trigger. For instance, Guardian used to have I think it was a 300 increase in armor and 12% to 15% to trigger. Now it has still a 15% to trigger, but it gives you like 900 armor. I'm not really that happy about it. You know, one of the reasons I use several people double stack is because they have better chances of that in trigger. I know because I use the only one I double stack was trickery, because trickery you become invisible when you do a finisher, and I use it a lot with Equinox, you know, to level up weapons in Sedna. And now they changed that. I mean, they increased the time, the amount of time that you are invisible. Instead of 15, I think you have like 30 or 20 seconds. 20 seconds isn't a lot, it's only more 5 seconds, but the chances of that triggering are still 15%, so it's not that great. But worst of all, and that's what really triggered me about this, was, you know, we knew from the get-go that we were going to have to get more Arcanes from R3 to R5. That's a given. But Steve said on DevStream 139, and I quote, "We are not trying to squeeze an extra ton of grind from you guys." This is what he said. He said this was not going to be one of those grindy things. What we really meant is that if you have double stacks, you only need to get one more. For those who don't have double stacks, like, you know, I think the majority of people don't have. Not all Arcanes are worth having in double stacks. You have to grind it all over again to get it max. I mean, it went up from 10 to 21. 21. That's more than the double than it was. And he said it out loud, right in front of everybody, on the stream. And Scott was there, he didn't correct me. Rebecca was there, she didn't do anything. I mean, nobody said, oh, well, if you already have 2, you know, you combine 2 and you can. That from the discussion that we're having, it seems like, you know, you have R3, and then you put 1 or 2 more, and then you get R5. And I was like, okay, yeah, that's gonna be really cool. But this was just a slap in the face. This was really, really bad. This would be bad for a bunch of reasons. First of all, because of the things I talked in the videos before, because of the Kuva glitches and because of Railjack and all those problems. And second, because the Scarlet Spear event is about getting Arcanes. The vendor, which is Little Duck, will have all the Arcanes for you to, you know, get there and get them all. So it seems like they were baiting the player. You know, they said, oh, we're going to lower the requirements of Railjack so you can build it, and we're going to have this event with Arcanes that you will have now to farm. So, you know, I really wanted Scarlet Spear to be a good event to bring players back, but more and more it feels like they're just grinding us. You know, especially the top players, the players who've been the longest. So, you know, I'm not happy about it. I'm really not happy. I'm upset. I'm really upset about it, and I'm using the word upset, not to use slander here on YouTube. So I really hope they change this requirements. I don't think they'll change before Scarlet Spear, because they want people to grind that thing, and then, you know, after a couple of months they may be lowered. I don't know, but, you know, it feels entrapment. They're entrapping us more and more in these grind wheels, in these long grind wheels. and I'm not happy about it. I mean, they're trying. You know, they did a bunch of cool stuff that, you know, some of them should be here from the get-go. I mean, they only now instated that you can use mods in your Sentinels and in your Warframes, something that, you know, should be from the get-go. They only recently in February added the world cycle clocks to the Nexus app, to the app that Warframe has. Something I was asking for them since Eidolons were dropped in planes. I mean, they're trying, but you know, I have my own theory about this, but I'll leave it to the next video. Overall, I think the changes are good. I think this last change to Arcanes was a really bad one, but that's just my opinion. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe, and as always, have a great game, guys.